Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Catalyst AA Innovation Program launch day. My name is Ching Ping, and I will be the online facilitator for this afternoon. Catalyst is an innovation hub for the medical and health tech ecosystem. We aim to bring together clinician innovators and healthcare professionals with startups, corporates, and ecosystem partners. The Catalyst AA Innovation Program that we're here today for is a collaboration between the Medical Alumni Association of Singapore, National University of Singapore, Jumpstart, and Catalyst. The aim for this program is to be a platform to connect clinicians and innovators and to help you get started on your entrepreneurial journey in developing innovative solutions to key medical problems. This will be a 5-month program that takes you through team formation, ideation of challenges, incubation, and proof of concept that will end in a demo day. Firstly, let me go through the current agenda for today. As you can see in this slide, we'll start off with a panel conversation comprising of our program partners. They will share their thoughts on the current medtech and health tech ecosystem and shed some light on the aims and objectives for this program. After this discussion, I will go into the details of the program with a briefing that covers aspects such as the themes, objectives, timelines, and the details for the next phase of matchmaking. We'll end the day with any questions from the audience about this program. And with this, we hope to clarify both the details and the benefits of this program for you. Following our current safe distancing rules in Singapore, we have the panelists joining us in person in Catalyst, while the rest of you attendees are joining us virtually. So we would like to welcome you to engage with the panel on the Q&A interface on Zoom. And without further ado, I will hand the session to our panel moderator, Mr. Derek Chiang, CEO of Padang & Co. and Director of Catalyst. Derek, if you can take it away.
Thank you, Ching Ping. So now we're going to have a conversation with key stakeholders of the program. Please allow me to introduce to you the panelists for this afternoon. First, we have Ms. Dr. Mayang Gurnani, Program Director of Jumpstart, who's also a physician himself. And we have Mr. Ng Cheng Tiang, Chairman of the Alumni Association of Singapore. Dr. Lai Ka Wing, who like myself, we are directors of Catalyst. He's also a medtech entrepreneur, he's co-founder of Precision Medical, and of course, orthopedic surgeon himself. My name is Derek Chiang. I'm the moderator for this afternoon, but as I said, it's more of a conversation, so I'm going to be asking a few questions. You may have a few questions that you want to pose to these gentlemen here, and you can do so by typing your questions into the Q&A button, and you'll be able to find that column, that icon at the bottom of your screen. So, I'd like to give these gentlemen here a quick opportunity to introduce themselves. Cheng Tiang, can I start with you?
Sure. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Derek. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Cheng Tiang. I'm currently the chairman of the Medical Alumni Association, Southern Branch specifically. So my day job actually is with a pharmaceutical company. So I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
And Mayang?
Hi, my name is Mayang Gurnani. I am a program director with Jumpstart, which is the Joint University MedTech program. I work from the NUS node, where we work with business development and clinical development for MedTech startups.
Thank you. And Ka Wing?
Hi, hi. My name is Ka Wing. I'm a consultant orthopedic surgeon in private practice. I run a startup, Pre6, which is actually located within Catalyst. I'm also one of the directors of Catalyst. So I represent the clinician component of today's panel. So thanks for inviting me. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, gentlemen. We're here to launch the Catalyst AA innovation program. We've done a lot of events at Catalyst. This is the very first innovation program we're launching. For this particular program, we're giving the people the opportunity to take their ideas from ideas to execution, to take their ideas to the next level. Basically, form a team, join a team. We can actually help you with forming the team, take on the challenge, learn about the problem, and we can help you develop your idea. And hopefully at the end of the program, you'll be ready for the next phase of the acceleration with programs such as Jumpstart. And Mayank can talk to you about that a little bit later. So, we're here, inviting your clinicians and different types of innovators to get started on your entrepreneurial journey. Now, I'd like to hear from Ching Tiang, representing the Alumni Association. Why this program? What purpose do you think this program really serves to working with your community of clinicians and healthcare professionals?
Okay, so specifically, Medical Alumni Association is, if you've not already known, is associations that actually one of the oldest alumni, if you like, association in Singapore that has given birth, so to say, to the medical profession in Singapore and Malaysia, not just Singapore, right? So over the years, it's coming to 100 years old, so to say, up until now. The clinician that has gone through the higher learning, the institution of higher learning here has numbered tens of thousands, obviously, I think since close to 100 years ago. So within the healthcare space, within the medical fraternity, I suppose there has been a lot of, so to say, innovation that has taken place. A lot of treatments, a lot of lives have been saved, but equally there are still many problems that have not been solved and to be solved, right? So exactly, I think this platform provides a very good and very exciting platform that we could partner together with NUS and Catalyst to actually launch it so that aspiring people like you guys on the line now, hopefully will come on board and do something about it and get into the journey of innovation and getting into startup and business and hopefully solve some problems and contribute to the mankind along the way. Thank you.
Thank you. And then speaking of clinicians, Kao Wing, you mentioned that you represent that community there, and you're a private practice clinician as well, right? Can you tell us what this program can actually do for fellows like yourself?
So I think for I'm speaking from the background of being a director of Catalyst. The innovation programs that are currently existing actually serves mainly a lot of the restructured hospital clinicians. The private sector side is actually a little bit underserved. So there's actually no innovation program targeted towards private practice clinicians like myself. I actually found that when I first started my startup, I don't know where to go. I didn't know where to start, right? So, a journey of 1,000 miles, it starts with the first step. So I took the first step. I was lucky, I stumbled along the way. And I realized that if we have actually a more structured program, the clinicians are more willing to take that first step. You get guided, your hand gets held for a couple of weeks. You know what exists out there. And at the end of the day, it's all about solving the problems. As clinicians, we face clinical problems day in, day out, right? And trying to solve those problems in a systematic fashion and a scalable way is actually very important. And that's how this innovation program can give us the opportunity to work towards these solutions.
Thank you, Kao Wing. Mayank, you're a clinician yourself, and you've been running the Jumpstart program for a number of years. How do you think this program can actually be helpful for those applying to the Jumpstart program?
Yeah, I think, like Kao Wing said, clinicians often come up with solutions to the problems they face. This is extremely common, especially with surgeons who are actually dealing with tools, needs devices, and work with it. I feel there is a need for programs like an initial priming entrepreneurial program, especially for such clinicians who come up with tools and ideas, to help them structure it and to put it into context and into how it could be a business, and whether it could be a business. Frankly, we have been doing this for a very long time. I myself have been involved with clinical research innovation for over 2 decades now. Since I passed out, I've been working in this area. As a scientist, it's easy to create hypotheses and to test them and find out data to do that. But that takes time, effort, money, sweat. I feel if there was a mechanism for early stage businesses, potential businesses, to see whether there's actual merit in going forward and going into a full-fledged program such as Jumpstart, which is deep in medtech, it would help these solutions to be brought out or to be hashed out more clearly. So this would help create that environment, that ecosystem that we need to help these startups, these early stage ideas to become potential businesses. So I think this program sort of solves that need. It provides a safe training environment, which provides the clinicians, the engineering, and the business guys the right tools and resources to actually check whether there is a market, whether there is a need, and whether there is a technological solution that they could develop to solve and get to the other side. Along the way, they get trained on IP, regulatory, reimbursement, all the other smaller but significant things that we need to form a business. But I think this is a good starting point for them, for these ideas to be sort of thought through and to be cleared out.
If I may add on, I think we shouldn't get carried away that, the clinicians have all the problems and all the solutions. In fact, one of the biggest problems that we have as a clinician is that we think we have a solution, but we can't find the right people to help us engineer that solution. So the engineering guys, and also making sure that that idea that the solution that we want to come up with has a business case, right? All these components can't be conjured out of nowhere. I was fortunate enough that I managed to have enough network and contacts to call upon engineers. I knocked on the door of the universities all by myself. It wasn't easy, right? And I think this innovation program brings together the engineers, the techies, as well as the business people, so that I think we can form teams and then we can iterate ideas in a very simple and straightforward and fast manner, without too much cost, right? Without sinking, just to test bed the idea, right? So I think this program is perfect for that.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, gentlemen. To get you folks started, we have a very structured program, but it's structured in a way that really helps you take those first steps. And my colleague Ching Ping will take you through how we're going to help you form your team, how we're going to make you with like-minded individuals to form a team, to take your ideas a little bit further, and the sort of help that you might get in the program proper to prototype and so on and so forth. So let's talk about the theme itself. We're talking about ideas that revolutionize the healthcare space in the post-COVID world. Big concepts there, but I'll start by asking what, to you, could, quote, revolutionize the healthcare space? Kawin,
So I think with the theme of COVID, right, in the background, I look upon it like in terms of the innovation that can take place in the healthcare space, you can actually divide it to the point of care. That means either at the diagnostics or protection of personnel, all right, or making sure that the treatment of the patient, right, does not end up with the spread of the disease. I won't go into the actual treatment or the vaccination because that's really deep biotech. I don't think our startups can come out with those solutions. Yeah, those are for the big boys. But I think we actually can work on preventing spread at the point of care. We can actually help with diagnostics using technology, and that's one component. The other thing that I think COVID in healthcare in the COVID background is actually to do with remote tracking and remote healthcare. So that actually has taken off quite significantly since COVID came upon us. So all the telemedicine platforms have already started. So I think remote monitoring, actual solutions that you can actually put forth such that you can monitor, diagnose, treat your patients without being physically there, all right? Treatment is a bit more technically challenging, but I think the rest we can try to do. So I think that's my view of how healthcare can be revolutionized because of the COVID pandemic.
Okay, thank you. We'll come back to some of these themes, especially things like remote monitoring and diagnostics. Ching Tiang, about yourself, what do you think could revolutionize the healthcare space?
I suppose the whole theme behind this is the need to solve a problem, right? The COVID-19 is a problem of a pandemic scale, right? Literally, every country has been on Earth, right? On the face of Earth has been affected. So with this kind of situation, what Kawing was saying, to come up with, I suppose the one thing that is visible and many people will be aspiring to is such that we hope to be able to develop some diagnostic quickly and turn it around, right? Or better still, come out with a vaccine within a record time. And we've seen that as well. The reality behind that is such that with every problem that you face, from as simple as what will be the procedures that the border control has to put in place. And when people comes on board, when people have been diagnosed as a person who is a patient positive case, what do you do in order to isolate them? One thing, and how to protect them, how to protect the public from catching the virus from the infected person, the isolation aspect of that. There are so many problems that you need to solve there and there to start off with, including a simple things like setting up the ventilation system, right? So there are just too many things that innovation could happen in this kind of space that would help solve the problem that is not just purely treating the disease itself, but just simply to prevent the spread of that. In itself, there are so many areas that actually you could disrupt the way we look at things. So honestly, I think the real theme is having a problem, having a crisis actually is an accelerator to innovation. So I suppose this is probably a good time. And at this juncture is probably the one of the best time to launch CAIP as well, that we are in the state that actually we need to challenge the status quo to accelerate some innovative ideas coming around. Not necessarily SpaceX going to the sky, right? But at least immediately something that can be implemented quickly and effectively.
Thank you. Mayang?
Well, I think that, COVID-19 has a silver lining. I have a contrarian view. I feel that COVID-19 has elevated the general consciousness around healthcare and public health. I think it has put large countries on notice that these pandemics have happened and will happen, continue to happen. So the question is, it's not just about developing vaccines or developing treatments for what COVID is right now, but thinking 2 years from now, 3 years from now, how will healthcare be delivered? How would lives of public health be managed in 2 to 3 years from now? So we've seen innovations coming out of Singapore, which have For example, from Jumpstart, we have Breathonics, which is a breathalyzer, which was initially developed for lung cancer, but has been repurposed to be used for COVID. These kind of innovations get accelerated because of COVID, because this accelerates the deployment of such resources and gets the clinical trial and the data necessary to validate that it works. So because of that, you have deployed in Changi, you've now deployed it in Dubai, in other Middle East countries very soon. So what happens is that you collect a lot of data and you get a lot of things going. I think that's what COVID is. COVID is an opportunity. It is an opportunity because budgets have increased for healthcare. It's an opportunity because people take more time to look after themselves. It's opportunity because people value their time and the amount of travel that they need to do more, and they look after themselves even better. So I think for innovators out there who have ideas, the world is their oyster. They've got immense potential to change the status quo, to change the way things have happened. There is no one particular, and it applies for all technologies. There is no one particular way that something will change the world. It happens in bits and pieces, and it just snowballs over a period of time and becomes a big change. So with MERS, with SARS, with COVID, these are three big impacts that we in Singapore have experienced. And I feel that has led to a change consciousness or evolved consciousness within Singapore, for example. And that is the effect that the world over will have. So when innovators think about it, they should think beyond Singapore. They should think how structures, how healthcare systems have been impacted the world over, not just in Singapore. Because remember, Singapore, our strength is not our size. Our strength is that we punch way beyond our size. And we create impact which is much bigger than our size footprint on the map.
Thank you. And you start to talk about the sort of consciousness and greater awareness in healthcare all around all stratas of society, right? And so start to getting into these trends that we're now seeing. What other trends are you seeing? Are you sensing other sort of maybe not even discernible as a trend, but maybe perhaps signals to what might come in what you said in 2 or 3 years' time? What might the delivery of healthcare look like?
Yeah, I think as a person who looks at the health economic side more closely, I think one clear indication is the amount of money which is coming into healthcare. Mm-hmm. Public health spending around the world has gone up. Now, it's not just for paying for vaccines, it's for paying for other healthcare requirements that people have. Mm-hmm. That's one clear trend that governments have actually opened up pockets and said, you're not going to spend on defense, you're not going to spend on doing more of these public programs. We'll spend directly on making sure our citizens are healthy and they're protected. So that's a big boost. But I also feel healthcare is one of the last domains within technology which has not been impacted. So for all the areas, be it finance, be it retail, be it infrastructure, they've all been impacted by technology. But healthcare is the last bastion which has not really been impacted by technology. This event will actually trigger a huge interplay between technology and healthcare. And not just any technologies, only those which can actually move the needle, which can create impact, which can actually bring the level of change in an economic sense will survive. So that this does not mean that people will just go or governments are just going to go and buy a lot of stuff which is unproven. It only means that governments will spend more money and more effort to make sure those which have potential are not left behind. So I feel this is something which COVID has changed irreparably in the world. So I see COVID as an opportunity.
Okay, thank you. And I think I just want to pick up something that you said earlier, and also Ching Tiang mentioned that development in record time, right? Development and approval, startups pivoting and getting the approvals and getting out to market in record time. Do you all see this as like the new normal, or do you think we'll slip back somewhat?
I think as a clinician, you know, the way the vaccines were approved in record time, treatments, you know, where ethical for trials were done in record time, it shows that actually we can be less risk averse, all right, provided we can actually see the benefits. Obviously, the pendulum is not going to swing all the way to the point where every drug that's newly discovered is going to go down this rapid, rapid route. It will come back, but I think once we have realized that we can roll out certain treatments in a more rapid fashion, it also means that innovations, clinical innovations, stuff that needs FDA, CE mark, regulatory approval, may actually have an opportunity to go down on this fast track, right? Provided you can actually justify how your innovation is going to impact and change, you know, how we deal with this disease. So that's actually a trend that I noticed that's revolution. It's going to revolutionize how we move forward. The second trend that I also noticed is that actually, I mean, it's always in the background, right? The idea of data, big data. So now we are actually in the healthcare industry more aware of getting this big data and getting this data to help us refine our treatments. And we need to go out there, like I said, about remote sensoring, remote monitoring. That kind of data will actually help clinicians better monitor the health of their patients. So I think that's the next trend that's going to come out as a result of COVID.
Mayank and Ching Tiang, do you want to add anything about the new normal in terms of getting approvals and speeding out the development work?
I would build on to what Mayank and Kawing have just said. Definitely, in terms of trend, we will see two phenomena after the pandemic has more or less subsided, so to say. In fact, it's already happening before the pandemic was actually there. But I suppose part of the challenge being there wasn't enough push factor, if you like, right, to get it going. But definitely one is there'll be more convergence, right? There's a lot more activities that actually different discipline, different industry are coming together to actually to work together in order to develop things quickly. Convergence also in terms of how they bring together, because in the healthcare sector, like what Mayank was saying, healthcare sector is a last bastion, and it's always very emotive things. You are dealing with life, yeah. So that's why the government always very risk averse. Same term Kawing was using, risk averse, and when it's risk averse, the regulator would also cancel. In our language, we call it cancel. So they play it slow, they play it safe. So in pandemic like this, they'll have to make sure that actually things could be accelerated and there will be more collaboration going on. So there's element convergence. The second component to that will be a lot more reliance. So we can see that actually if we take the most visible one being the COVID-19 vaccine, right? Approval by US FDA, the next thing you'll notice, all the world's regulators, the FDAs, approve the drugs relatively quickly with a relatively, I would say, compared to most of the development cases, actually a smaller set of data. And then the approval is, I think the important part is the move, the way they work on things. They say it is emergency authorization usage. It's not a full approval. So the trend is moving into what we call, I think in the European sector, they call a adaptive approval as well. So I think that's something, the trend is being accelerated. So that's definitely some of the good things that are coming through here.
Well, I spoke about the trends being a lot disruptive, but I also feel that the ability of the ecosystem to absorb is increased, because now if there's a new innovation available which solves something which is immediately relevant to you, then you tend to adopt it. You tend to take it. There will always be people who will resist taking on innovation, but I think because of COVID, the ability to absorb innovation and to use it and to become a daily part of life, is the likelihood increases. So that to me is a good time to get started.
Okay, thank you. Actually, we might take some questions from the floor. I think there are a few questions. First question, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs in the healthcare space? It's quite a big question, but that's a thought bubble that I'm sure it's hovering on top of quite a few people's heads as they watch this.
Well, I think the thing about being an entrepreneur versus being a clinician, it's quite different roles that I have to, I've got to switch my hats all the time. Because as a clinician, you are treating one patient at a time. You're going to maximize your ability, your effort to make sure this patient does well, have a good outcome. Well, as an entrepreneur, you're looking at things at scale. You're looking at profit. You're making sure that there's enough value delivered that comes through the company, so that the company can grow, right? So, my advice, if you're a clinician and you are thinking of going down this entrepreneur path, make sure that you have a very clear dichotomy. When you're treating patients, your role is to look after the patient. Your role is to be a doctor. When you are the entrepreneur, you are the CEO of the company, you run the company like a CEO, it's a little bit different from being a doctor. Okay, it's that mindset switch. And the biggest thing that I took away from being a clinician innovator, being an entrepreneur myself, is actually to have a lot of resilience, a lot of persistence, the idea of not giving up. And the good thing about being a doctor is that when you went through medical school, you went through residency training, all that actually is built up already. So when you become an entrepreneur, you just got to work on it. Just keep doing it. If you fall down, get up and try again. I mean, the idea is not to give up so easily. And then once you get successes and you get chances of your problem getting solved, that will encourage you to do more.
Thank you. And just to the audience, we're not just looking for clinicians to join this program. We need a great diversity of talents to join this program, because as you heard Kao Wing say, not all clinicians make good business people. So we need talents there as well, and not just engineers. Mayang, you work with a lot of these clinicians and entrepreneurs and innovators. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would agree with Kao Wing. The entrepreneurial thinking is a different mindset altogether. And when people go out, clinicians, non-clinicians, whoever goes out and tries to be a healthcare entrepreneur, my first advice to them is to listen. So my advice to them is, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And there's a reason for that. We are supposed to listen twice more than we speak. And as an entrepreneur, you have to do even further than. So make that 20:1. Listen, ask a question, let it float. Don't try to fill the space with what you are saying. Stop selling your own product first or your own idea first. Listen to the environment, listen to the needs, listen to your customers. What are they saying? What do they really want? And what are they not saying? What does their body language tell you? What do their customers of the customers tell you? So look at that. If you're solving needs for a clinician, look at what his patients need. Look at what does his support staff needs, and you will find something that will work. But if you go with a mindset that I have an idea, I know that it works. I just want to sell it. It's a little harder. I understand as a CEO's ego. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they don't have to be resilient or persistent in what they want to do. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is allow space for you to listen and to validate whether your assumptions are correct or not. And putting them on paper is old-fashioned, but I think that's the way you can actually go back and see and tell yourself you did something right or wrong. So use a Word document, use an Excel sheet, use a just plain old diary to write down what are the core assumptions that you're making. Be truthful to yourself. Get somebody in your team to look at it and push you whether they are in order. And then go out and talk to your customers to check whether they actually are true or not. So yeah, don't just drink your own Kool-Aid.
Thank you. But I just thought that came to my head because you talk about listening, you talk about listing your assumptions and pondering and evaluating your options. Isn't that the practice of medicine to begin with? Because aren't you taught to listen to what the patient's really saying, or actually also observing what the patient's not actually saying, right? And relying on doing tests and and analyzing the results of that.
Yeah, I mean, as a physician, I can say that as a clinician, we do that quite a bit. We listen to patients and what they're saying, but when it comes to decision making, actually the driver is the doctor. So in fact, it's a problem because doctors naturally take the driver's seat and assume the leader role. And they've been trained to do that because people around them are looking at them and telling them, please. And it's something which has been inculcated with them through med school, through the residency, through their junior consultancy, senior consultancy. They have been gone through that. But it's important to take a pause and see, is it just my problem? Is it specific to me? Or there's a bigger set of clinicians who might be facing the same problem? Or is there a bigger set of support staff which might be facing the bigger problem? A lot of doctors tend to think about just their own, I need this tool because I want to do this surgery. I need this thing. But they forget that there are therapists, there are nurses, there are dentists, there are other professionals who are making it successful. So unless that fits into their workflow, and if they work with it and it solves their needs, it's unlikely to be successful. So they need to go listen to those guys and just stop drinking their own Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I certainly echo Mayank's point about, being dogmatic. The idea is not to be, as a clinician, it's always very easy. We listen to the patients. At the end of the day, we have so much more knowledge, right, compared to the patient. We know better in a sense. We are listening to the symptoms, but at the end, our minds are actually very closed, right? We already have in mind the diagnosis 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll never entertain this other possibility because, so that's where having an open mind as an entrepreneur will help if you're a clinician. Getting used to listening to other people, their points of view, and actually incorporate it internalize some of it and have an open mind to look at the ideas, look at the solutions. And that also leads to my next point. As an entrepreneur, you also need to have the ability to work in a team, because there's no way a clinician thinks that, I want to do this, and you can do the coding, you can do the hardware, you can do all this. You can never do this yourself. So working in a team is actually critical. Respect, mutual respect, and understanding of each other's viewpoint is important. So I can tell you how many times in this discussion room, me and my co-founders, we are tearing at each other, right? And really, on the edge, but it's good. It's a positive kind of discussion that you need to have. And that's about being in a team.
I just want to add one point. Don't be afraid of failure. I mean, failure is bound to happen. So it's just the law of averages catching up with you. It's going to happen. And I can say this because I've been a failed entrepreneur myself. I launched my own business. It didn't work. It bombed. It's a scar I wear on my sleeve, and I'm proud of it. So, but I feel a lot of people who are kiasu, who feel, it would be bad to fail. I think the program like Catalyst helps these kind of guys specifically because this is a safe environment. We're not asking you to come develop this full time and leave everything else and do this. We're training you to think through it. And the team has put together a solid program, which Qingping is going to talk about later, which will provide them the tools and resources to actually go through in a fashion that is sensible to the daily day job. So it makes sense in that environment. So it's okay to fail. It's okay that after 6 months you say, hey, this is not a good idea, but you learn something. You learn how to process ideas. You learn how to put up a team together. You learn how to go pitch to somebody and say, give me money to do this. You learn how to actually go talk to people who you would have normally not, taken off your gloves or taken off your shoes and went to the office and talked to them. You would not have normally done that.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of thing we need to unlock the potential of innovation that might be out there.
Yeah, thank you. Just going to move on to the next question. Where do I begin if I, as a clinician, have an idea to develop a remote assessment tool from an allied health professional's perspective? How do I go about signing to try this pilot as I do not have access to networks, engineers, tech guys, limited network? First of all, this is the program to help someone like yourself connect with these networks, connect to these other people who can actually help you take it further. But since this allied health is actually mentioned here, Qingtiang, you come from a pharmacist with the background. How would you respond to this particular question?
I would say Catalyst is the right platform, right? Simple and plain. Essentially, the whole idea why Catalyst and this CAIP program exists is to help the aspirant like you to come on board. So just be brave, just come on board and join to have fun. And more importantly, I think the network of people that you can have access to is something that you really, really need to treasure. Whether or not your idea eventually become something that would develop into some kind of innovation successfully or otherwise, doesn't matter. But you start the journey, you know the mechanics going around, how to set up entrepreneurship, you build the network. And I suppose, I think Kawing did mention that, he himself has the innovation. Network matters a lot. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, just to stress to the audience again, yes, we talk a lot about clinicians, but really we welcome all healthcare professionals to be part of this because not every problem that you're going to solve has got to come from a doctor. So we certainly need all types. So going to move on to the last question.
Can I chime in before the last question, a quick one. If you have an idea, right, regardless whether you're an engineer, you're a business guy or a clinician, don't be afraid to talk about it, right? Don't be afraid to go out there and bounce it off people and see whether it makes sense, right? Yeah. And even if it doesn't make sense, bounce it off small people and don't be afraid that your idea, somebody's going to take it away and do a runaway success. It never happens, all right? The idea is yours. Go out there and get feedback, right? And don't be discouraged if you went to a mentor, which happened to me, right? I went to this mentor when I was in the hospital, and I thought he's really going to be very encouraging. He told me, poo-poo my idea. He said, no, it's not good enough. I think you shouldn't be doing this. I was like, okay, I'm actually here to bounce off you to get some encouragement, see what other things. He said, oh, you can't do this. If you talk to these kind of people, you should just ignore them, all right? Talk to people who can encourage you and give you value add to say, look, your idea is this, you can try this other method. And that's the one that can help you refine your idea better before you take the next step. So don't be afraid to go and talk to people.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to relate that last question that's on the board here with some closing remarks from yourself. How do you envision healthcare tech becoming more focused on the preventative space moving forward? We talked about preventative care earlier. We talked about diagnostics, but decentralized care, moving to people's homes, remote monitoring. Just to link my last question to that, what are some of the game-changing ideas you would love to see? Give me a wish list.
I have a clear wish list. I was a prolific traveler before this. For work, for play, I used to travel a lot. So I'm looking for a solution which gives me like a COVID passport. Says, Mike, you got the vaccine, you got the antibodies, go. So to me, that for people like me who have been indoors and I've not been able to travel to India to meet my parents.
Yeah.
My sister lives in the US in tri-state. So for me, if there was a way to unlock this and get out of there, I mean, not that I don't like Singapore, I love Singapore, but I also feel that, you know, if there was a COVID passport, this was a simple way for me to say, I got the vaccine, I've got it. Can I go, please?
Yeah.
And not get quarantined.
Okay. I think there was also an earlier question about, you know, any sort of clinical need that has not been met because of lack of engineering resources. Is this something that
there are
you come across?
There are tons. Look at the MRI machine. It's a huge machine, but you need to go there and get it done. Why can't you make a bedside MRI? I mean, look at that. Look at the perspective I'm throwing. I'm saying, unlock the MRI from a room and let it go to the patient. Why do you need to wheel a patient who's crying with pain into the MRI machine, subject them to the trauma of listening to all those magnets moving around, subject them to the claustrophobia of sitting inside and doing that? Why? So I feel there are tons of problems. Mm-hmm. It just takes an eye to catch that. So you just need to go inside and you need to start looking at those things. I'm not saying just go walk into the hospital and start questioning everything. I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. But in whatever area you have been working in, whatever experience you have had, you would see problems. Just develop that eye to pick up that problem and see which problem is really something that you would like to work on, which is worth working on. Don't just try to pick up anything. Don't try to make, salt and pepper with wheels. Don't try to do things which doesn't make sense. But use some common sense. Think about what problems you see in your common areas, and you will find something worth looking up.
Thank you, Cheng Tiang.
Wish list. I suppose my also painted a picture where there are tons of problems to solve. To me, I also see likewise. The only additional things that I hope to see is such that going forward there will be a lot more simpler, right? Things can get simpler, be faster, more efficient, and hopefully more sustainable. Because I think healthcare has become such a big part of our personal budget, if you like, as Singapore is a developed country. So what I envision going forward is such that instead of relying on very, very big innovative companies, there will be more startups who come up with brilliant ideas, simple solution, sustainable, and quickly. That my young's dream is not unreal, right? Instead of going to an MRI tunnel, right? Hopefully one day a mobile phone could do a lot of diagnostic tests. But then again, I suppose it comes with time. It has to be tested. And then just to also maybe address the question about whether or not in the future is going to be preventive space. I suppose it's a whole spectrum, right? Healthcare, you have prevention is always the best, but sometimes people fall through the crack. That's why you have to have treatment. So along the way, there could be a little bit of early intervention. There could be a little bit of self-diagnosis, anything at all, right? Going forward, we don't know healthcare is going to be evolved into what kind of landscape. As it is now under COVID environment, right? We're talking about preventing infection. We're talking about containing infection. We're talking about securing the border. So there are all kinds of public health strategies that we can apply together with the classical medicines, and both of them together with legal framework. All of these will come together, and this is where innovation will be exciting, actually.
Thank you. Kar Wing, one wish list.
My wish list, I wish that there are more guys like me who go out there and go for it, try try to be start a company and get going. And the truth about being a clinician is that you don't want to stop practicing as a clinician and be a full-time innovator, right? I think having that clinical practice is still very important. The only thing is that you got to carve away time, dedicate time to make your idea a reality. So my wish list is that there'll be more people in this year who are willing to put themselves forward and commit to solving the problem that they face, right? And yeah, go start a company.
Thank you. And not just guys like you, but also women as well. We need, this is for a different day, a topic for a different day. How might we encourage more women to join the medtech and health tech scene? But that's a bigger topic for another day. Now, thank you, panelists, Ching Tiang, Mayang, and Ka Wing. Now back to my colleague, Ching Ping, to take you through the details of the program.
Thank you very much, panelists, for your time and insightful conversations on the current trends of healthcare, and I guess why this program is designed to catalyze innovation. With this, let me get into the briefing about the Catalyst AA Innovation Programs. And audience, feel free to add in your question at any time, and I will address them at the end of this briefing session. Let me start with getting into the theme. So as we all have experienced the disruption of 2020, the theme for this program is broad and aims to invite clinicians and innovators to propose ideas that could revolutionize the healthcare space in a post-COVID world. Especially with the needs of today, the focus of these new ideas will need to address solving the challenges of scale and impact. Diving a bit deeper into the objectives of this program, for clinicians, particularly in the private practice space, we hope to provide you a structured program to get you started on the journey of entrepreneurship and link you up with a team of like-minded innovators. For innovators, we hope to engage with researchers, tech enthusiasts, founders that want to solve healthcare challenges and co-found new solutions with medical experts. The outcome for this program is to build capabilities by incubating these teams along a 3-month phase to develop a proof of concept and validate these healthcare solutions within the ecosystem. At the end of this program, in partnership with Jumpstart, we aim to propel you to the next phase of acceleration with the Jumpstart program itself. Looking at the timeline, let me break it down for you. This program comes in 3 phases. The outreach phase, which is where we're currently at, is to really bring together a community of interest from clinicians all the way to innovators. And so after this launch day, we'll be hosting a matchmaking session in March. The aim is to help you connect with other like-minded innovators with complementary skill sets to help you in forming your founding team. During the selection phase, we'll shortlist the teams to join us at selection day, which essentially is a hackathon-style day, which aims to build capabilities and validate ideas. Up to 10 teams will join us for the incubation phase, which is a 3-month-long program aimed to equip teams with capabilities, insights, and mentorship to develop their concepts from needs identification and problem framing to prototyping in preparation for Demo Day in July itself. At Demo Day, this will be an opportunity for your team to pitch, and that's where we'll invite the whole of the healthcare ecosystem to attend and kind of give you feedback and also future insights. Jumping into the matchmaking process, just to give you guys a bit more detail. So as mentioned earlier, please register for matchmaking day. You can type in the bit.ly that is displayed on the right, or you can click on the link that is posted on the Zoom chat right now. So at registration, what we'll want to do is we'll be filling up a form to learn more about your skill sets and also what teams and ideas that you're looking at. And so this will help us match you better at matchmaking day itself. On the 4th of March, show up. This will be a virtual session due to the current requirements. But this will be where participants will be matched according to these ideas and their skill sets into virtual rooms. And we hope to facilitate these conversations to exchange ideas and also after that exchange information. And we'll do this for about 2 to 3 rounds so that you can experience a diversity of different people. And with that, it leads us to team formation. So after that, once you have met like-minded people, we hope that you can make an application on our website and to be shortlisted for selection day. But yeah, let me get into the details of the application process as well. Firstly, going into team composition and I guess our expectation. So there's no strict rules on the teams, but the main guidelines here are your team should consist of at least 2 founders that will aim to create a company that commercializes your solution. Your team needs to have at least 1 Singapore-based clinician. The nominated team lead must attend at least 75% of the program activities in order to progress. And for this 2021 program, we'll be running in-person activities and workshops. So I mean, we would highly suggest that the majority of your team members should be based in Singapore. Into the final 2 slides. So on the application process, the form is actually open on the website already. So you can follow the URL on the slides or also on the Zoom chat, we have posted it. But to go through it briefly, we just want your information for each team member to understand the breakdown of your clinicians, your innovators, what sort of backgrounds they'll be coming from. Your proposal should contain the elements below, but I think not to go into detail, but we have an application guide for your reference as well to kind of help you walk through what we're looking for in the proposal. And finally, I think the last part is to really hear more from you on how we can support you because we understand that the teams that will be coming might come from a very diverse range of capabilities. So we would like to learn from you on how we can support you better throughout the incubation phase as well. Main thing to note is that the due date for this application is on the 22nd of March, end of day. So yeah, fill in your form after matchmaking day, then fill out the application form itself. And I think, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. So to us, the next call to action is to register yourself for matchmaking day. So QR code, bit.ly link, all this should lead you to the Eventbrite page that will help you register. And once we get your registration, we can then kind of allocate you to the right rooms and the right people for matchmaking. Please also feel free to help us by inviting your friends or networks. I mean, we're always looking forward to supporting the healthcare sector in this entrepreneurial journey. So please feel free to extend this invite and these links to any of your peers as well. The final things to note, the recording of this workshop, of this launch day, will be on our website by the end of the week. So, I mean, if you know of anyone that could not attend, they can tune in on our website itself. And I think with this, I open the floor to any Q&A from the audience. So I'll just go through the Q&A panel. But for everyone else, thank you very much for your time and your support for us. So I have a question. I'll be reading this out. So this is on, would joining this program give us more access to interviews and to test our ideas with hospital and clinics? So the idea is that you will have a clinician on board that can give you a certain sense of validation. But throughout the incubation phase, that is also where we will bring in kind of mentors, experts into this space to be able to validate your ideas and give you kind of a wider perspective as well on business models. Another question is on if students can sign up. The only requirement is for people to be above 18. But I mean, to us, we are looking for teams that can really move towards commercialization as well. So we do expect a high amount of commitment on that end. But yes, students are welcome. Does this happen on an annual basis? So for this, this is our first ever launch, but of course, with this run and the success of this run, we would want to extend this to an annual program. But I think as much as possible, feel free to join us now. Yeah, we can't promise that it will happen next year yet. I think there's a question by Hanif on what kind of commitment is this required. As much as possible, this is a very exploratory program, so we would not at all ask you to leave any full-time commitments or full-time jobs. So this is very much a part-time thing, and we have designed that across the months as well. So the requirement would be most likely a workshop within every 2 weeks to attend virtually or in person. and then to work on your ideas on a part-time basis over the weekends or after hours. So no, we don't expect a full-time commitment, but just a part-time commitment, and I think it's to be established with your founding team. Can non-Singaporeans join? Yes, no issue. I think for us, the highly recommended part is that we need people based in Singapore so that they can attend our workshops. But again, there's no requirements on nationality for this program. I think for anyone else, I mean, there's a question on eligibility for engineers I mean, yes, it's open to any people that are interested. So sign up straight away for matchmaking day. So 2 engineers that have a business idea, no problem on that. You will just need to get a clinician on your team. And that is where the matchmaking day, that's what we will promote you to be able to engage with. At the moment, having a clinician is mandatory, but I think for us, we'll work it out with every team on a case-by-case basis. As much as possible, we would like to pair you up and find you a suitable clinician. So that at the moment is still the only mandatory requirement of the team. I have a question on if we must pay to enter this program. No, there's no payment required. And also, I mean, we've covered a clause on IP on the FAQ. So mainly we do not take any IP ownership, or we do not take any equity in the founding team as well. So this is a very exploratory platform for any new teams to set up with us, and the full ownership will be in the founding teams itself. I think addressing this question by Ellen on financial support, the only financial support that we would be giving for this program is to be able to provide you financial support on the prototyping of your ideas, but there will not be any additional grants or financial support given to the teams or the founders. If you cannot make it for matchmaking day, please feel free to write to us. There's an email on the website, the programs at thecatalyst.sg. Just let us know. I mean, as much as possible, we would like everyone at matchmaking day, but I think after matchmaking day itself, that's where we'll start pairing up teams that either could not find their kind of connections or anyone that could not make it. So write to us, let us know. But I think once we get signups on matchmaking day, we can start actually pairing people up already as well. So there's a question on, can I join if I already have an idea and team members? And does it mean that you can skip the matchmaking step? Yes, for sure. I mean, if you have a team and a clinician that's ready in your team, yeah, you can straight away submit a form. But also you can join us on matchmaking day if you would like to get any new skill sets that you don't have in your team at the moment. But yes, right away, as of now, you can already submit the application form. So there's a question on what if there is already a team form after going through another Startup SG training track program and already set up a company, but you need a clinician as a core member of the team. Yeah, I don't have enough context whether this will kind of clash with the other Startup SG training. But for us, if you do need a clinician, this is a platform to get them on board, but you have to make it very clear in the context. And I think, I mean, for us, we will also provide a contract for the founders to kind of sign to really establish what are the equity rights in this founding of the team as well. So, I mean, you might need to revise the setup of your company. But yeah, I don't have enough context on the track program, and maybe you can write into us. Another question on, do we need an idea to be matchmaking? At the moment, if you are able to give us what are your interests or what ideas do you have on top of the mind that helps us match you better with other people that might have a similar idea or are in a similar field. So as much as possible, the more information you can provide us, the better. And that helps us in our curation of the matchmaking day itself as well. What will top teams be awarded? So as much as possible right now, this is an incubation program. So there is no cash prize for this program. But I mean, the main award is to get your team set up, validated in the healthcare ecosystem. But also then that's where we are partnering with NUS Jumpstart to be able to accelerate you into their program itself. So the question is, so if I don't have a clinician, I can join first and be allocated a clinician on matchmaking day? Yes, that is what will happen for matchmaking day. Just sign up and in the form indicate where you are in this. I mean, if you're an innovator or an engineer or a clinician, and then from there we'll matchmake you into the right rooms as well. So a question on how do we brainstorm for ideas, or are there any platforms through which we can engage with clinicians? Yes, so that's part of the incubation phase. But I mean, I think to us at the matchmaking stage, matchmaking day itself, you will have that timing as well to kind of test your ideas and see whether you can form a team over these ideas. But once the team is formed and you all are agreeable on pursuing a specific idea, then we will also go and validate your ideas throughout the incubation program itself. So there's two phases in that brainstorming question. And firstly, you kind of need to get your team on board or a team on board with your idea. There's a question on, can I join if I'm a US company looking for local clinicians? I mean, the expectation very much for this program is to work within the Singapore time zone. So if you do get a local clinician that is interested to partner up with you, feel free to make an application. But I mean, I think this program is designed for new teams. So I mean, depending on your company structure and how the clinician will be rewarded for his contribution, I think that's something to look into. But yeah, as much as possible, feel free to join us on matchmaking day. If you're not based in Singapore, yeah, I mean, to us, if you can find founders that are based in Singapore, that's where we will, I mean, you have the opportunity in a sense to send your other parts of your team that are in Singapore into the workshops, and then you can kind of sync up with them after the workshops, because we won't, yeah, I mean, in the design of our workshops at the moment, putting in both remote and physical is a bit of a problem. Yeah, because it just doesn't interface together, right? So right now it is either fully physical or fully virtual. There is no in-between alternative. So I mean, the advice is to get a Singapore-based co-founding team, and then you can work out the arrangements there as well. So how long is the program? I think this was covered earlier. So I mean, this recording will be put up online. So I won't crowd the space by answering that question. Can I join as a clinician with an idea and then match with others during matchmaking? Yes, for sure. So sign up on the Eventbrite. The link is displayed right now. And yes, you can join as a clinician. I mean, right now, the whole phase or the whole purpose of this is to allow any individuals that either have half a team or don't have a team or already have a team but are looking for more people. Please sign up for the matchmaking day, and that's the platform where you will meet new people there. Is the program open to corporate teams? I think to us, this program is designed for new founders, so it's very much in the new, designed to incubate new teams, so new to entrepreneurship, new to innovation. Corporate teams, I mean, we haven't established a rule yet on whether corporate teams are in. I can always check and get back to you. So Joel, if you want to email me separately, we can come up with an answer for you. So yeah, I mean, to any other questions on if you can join as a single person on matchmaking day with your idea? Yes, as much as possible, join us for matchmaking. Come with your ideas, and I mean, we'll look towards for you to discuss your ideas during matchmaking as well, so that in a sense you can see what interest is there from any other skill sets or clinicians that want to take part in this. Okay, I think the rest, I have answered the rest of the questions. If there's anything else, please feel free to email us, but please do your own readings. We have a FAQ page as well that hopes to answer some questions. So yeah, either watch the recording fully, read the FAQ page. If none of those are answered, then write into us. But we also don't want to kind of keep repeating ourselves. But yes, thank you very much for your time and your interest in this program. So as much as possible, we look forward to getting your registrations for Matchmaking Day and supporting you throughout this innovation program.